My dad kicked me off the guest list for my sister's big day, then freaked out when I let slip that I controlled every single supplier. I was chilling in my home editing suite when my parents rang me up. There aren't enough chairs to go around for all the attendees at the event. Some names had to be dropped, and yours was one of them. You get it, right? I inhaled deeply, but I'd already prepared a toast, and my plane ticket ran me $750. It's completely non-refundable, Lucas. My father's tone cut sharp like a knife. This is a black tie affair. Guests use multiple utensils. Your sister's executive friends will be present, and we know large groups make you anxious. Dad, I'm 29. Make sure to grab a bite before you call us again. You get cranky when you're starving. Beep. He ended the call. My heart filled with icy fear. I quit film studies 7 years back, and they still refuse to act like I mattered. An hour passed, then another ring came. It was their event coordinator. Mr. Lucas, this is Hannah from Wedding Bliss. I'm reaching out about your sister's ceremony next month. Your relatives reached out to us about some adjustments. My gut dropped. What kind of adjustments? They've scratched you entirely from the attendees, but they've also requested we hold onto your $55,000 fee for the filming services. Your mom mentioned that the household had already designated those funds for other event costs. I pushed to cover the filming services myself so I could offer my sister something special. My palms were trembling now, but not from sadness. Hannah, I have a question for you. What's the name of your event space? The Horizon Manor is right in the city center. Why do you ask? And who holds the ownership? I heard rustling of documents. It's registered under Vision Media Group. My tone stayed even now. What about the food service provider? Silver Spoon Catering, though I'm not certain why. She hesitated. Hold on, that's also Vision Media Group. Continue. The flower arranger, music entertainer, and transportation. Her breathing sped up as I listed each one. Mr. Lucas, are you saying that you control every supplier for this event? Every last one. The phrase sounded strange on my lips. 7 years of letting folks think I was scraping by while quietly constructing $1 million enterprise in commercials. 7 years on, you land a proper career. And we remember what went down at your prom like I was still the clumsy teen who stepped on Sarah's buddy's gown. Terminate it all, I said softly, every agreement and every booking. Forward my parents a detailed invoice that spells out precisely what their true expenses ought to cover. They can keep my filming deposit since they've already used it. But sir, the event is in 4 weeks. There are 150 attendees. Then they better begin dialing numbers. After disconnecting, I remained in my editing suite, encircled by gear that they wrote off as a costly pastime. My device buzzed with a message from Mom. Lucas, we've settled on our choice. Still, the invite specified a dress code. We know how challenging those can be for you. Once you secure a legitimate position, you'll grasp these decisions. Don't reach out to your sister, I replied. Got it. Best wishes with the suppliers. I was pulling footage from a drive when my device exploded with incoming rings. I ignored Mom, Dad, or my sister's contacts. I let them ring until Dad called for the 6th occasion. Lucas. His tone had shed all its arrogance. He sounded terrified and almost shouted. Every supplier has just backed out. The space, the food team, and everyone else. There's been a huge mix-up. No mix-up, Dad. They all answer to me. The silence was so complete that I could hear his inhales. That's not possible. You make short clips, you can barely cover. I produce spots for Nike, Dad. Every supplier you selected works under me. We can sort this. You're still relatives. Relatives? I chuckled. You were worried an hour back that I couldn't manage several utensils. Lucas. Don't get so touchy. You know? We just want what's best. No, Dad. You want an event that you can't pay for. The device rang once more. This time it was my sister. I almost skipped it, but instinct made me answer. Lucas. Her tone was small and shattered. She was crying so intensely she couldn't speak. What's going on? Mom and Dad are shouting. The space called me directly. They said everything was scrapped. My anger eased a bit. Did you know they excluded me? What? No. Mom said you had a huge project that weekend and couldn't attend. Her crying grew louder. I shut my eyes and sensed the gravity of my actions. They also kept my $55,000 deposit. They claimed they'd already spent it. $55,000. Lucas. Oh my God. I had no idea. All of this was news to me. She was hiccuping now. That's how Mother sounded when we were little. Can you restore it? What about the suppliers? My tone broke. I'm sorry, but they need to learn. They can't continue acting like this toward me anymore. 7 years of being seen as if I were a kid who couldn't use utensils. But this is my event, she whispered. I had to choose between showing my parents a lesson and ensuring my sister's most special day. I sat there staring at my device screen, Olivia's cries echoing in my mind like an endless replay. My digit hovered over Isabella's contact, and I realized that my next move would forever alter my ties with my relatives. My heart was still packed with hot and burning fury. But now it mixed with the noise of my little sister sobbing over a crisis she hadn't created. I pressed the dial icon before I could second guess. Isabella picked up on the first tone, likely expecting more trouble. I told her to hold off 24 hours before sending the termination notices, so I could pause everything while I figured out my choice. She sounded eased, said she'd halt any supplier talks, but noted that some had already asked what was happening. I promised her I'd provide a final call by tomorrow morning and disconnected, feeling like a boulder had landed on my torso. I spent the following hour walking back and forth in my editing suite, shifting between the gear shelves and workstations. My device kept pinging on the desk, signaling new rings. I kept glancing at it and spotting my father's name. 7 more tries in 40 minutes. I ignored every one to voicemail because I needed space to reflect without his panic or pressure clouding my judgment. The editing suite seemed altered today, with all the lenses, illumination, and tools my parents dismissed as overpriced playthings. This gear had returned its cost 100 times over. They had built an enterprise that they were clueless about. And here I was, wielding it as bargaining power in a relatives' clash I never sought. Around midnight, I finally made myself check my father's voicemails. I settled at my desk, set the device to speaker, and played them sequentially. The initial one was furious, his tone tight and blaming, calling me foolish and immature. The next one was confused, questioning how this occurred and insisting on details. By the fourth message, his manner had shifted to worried, even desperate, as he talked about funds already spent and how hard it'd be to find replacements so near the event date. On the 8th attempt, he said, we could discuss it like adults because we were relatives, and relatives resolve issues. The hypocrisy hit me strongly, from someone who saw me as a child that morning and disconnected when I tried to explain my trip. What hit hardest was that in none of those recordings did he say sorry or own up to their error. It was always about the chaos I caused, the problem I was creating, not what they'd done to spark it. I deleted all the voicemails and rang Lucas, despite the late hour. He answered on the second tone, which wasn't shocking given he was accustomed to my odd schedules during project wraps. I laid out the whole saga to him, from the exclusion to the deposit to the fact that I'd just risked destroying my own sister's event. He heard without cutting in, and when I wrapped up, there was a lengthy silence before he said, we had to consider the enterprise effects beyond just the relatives angle. Lucas pointed out that if rumors circulated that Vision Media Group had withdrawn deals for personal motives, it could badly damage our standing with other customers. He wasn't wrong, and I knew it. We'd invested years building a name for reliability and expertise, and this looked like neither. We chose to gather first thing in the morning at the office to brainstorm ways to safeguard both my limits and the firm's image. I finally dozed off around 3:30 a.m. and woke at 7:30 to my device pinging relentlessly on the bedside table. I had 17 fresh texts, most from my mother. I scrolled through them while still in bed, observing her approach shift from text to text. The early ones were aggressive, calling me self-centered and dramatic. The middle ones leaned on guilt, saying I was ruining my sister's joy and wrecking what should have been her greatest day. The last few pushed harder, insisting this wasn't the person they raised me to be, that relatives don't act this way toward each other, and that I was being harsh over hurt feelings. The hypocrisy of the final part almost made me burst out laughing. They didn't raise me to succeed either, but here I was running $1 million operation they knew nothing about. Lucas and I held a meeting room session with Nathan at the office that morning. Our company lawyer spread out all the supplier agreements on the table and reviewed them individually. He said that legally, I could end anything, since Vision Media Group owned the deals. But he also mentioned something I hadn't thought of. Some of the agreements had penalty clauses that would hit my company with actual costs if we bailed. We were facing up to $18,000 in charges and lost deposits for Vision Media Group to absorb, on top of the $55,000 my parents had already used. Nathan also warned me about the risks of letting a relative's dispute bleed into company matters. He suggested that if I chose to restore the suppliers, we needed thorough records separating this case from standard business practices. We spent an hour figuring out how to craft a written guideline on conflicts of interest and deals with relatives to prevent future messes. My device rang again while we were still in the session, and the display showed Liam's name. I really respected Olivia's fiancé. He'd always been straightforward to chat with, and he'd never bought my parents' story about my career being a gag. I stepped out of the meeting room to take the call. He asked if we could grab coffee that afternoon, just us two, to talk over what was happening. His tone was even and composed, not mad or blaming, but just practical. I agreed, and we set 3:30 at a cafe near my editing suite. Liam showed up exactly on time, appearing worn out but steady. We chose a secluded corner table, and I explained the mediation plan that Nathan had suggested. He listened without cutting in, and said he thought it was smart that Olivia needed this kind of structured discussion too. He vowed to talk with her that night and update me. I headed back to my editing suite, and fired up my laptop to draft the email proposing mediation. My fingers paused over the keys for a full minute before I started typing. I kept it short and direct, noting that Nathan had suggested Shirley, a certified mediator, to help us have a productive conversation about what occurred and how to move forward. I said that I wanted to find a path that worked for all, but that we needed open dialogue and shared respect to arrive there. I CC'd Olivia, my parents, Lucas and Nathan so everyone saw the same details. My digit shook a little as I hit send. Liam's reply came in under 5 minutes. He said that he and Olivia were both on board and thanked me for taking the lead. Olivia sent a separate note 10 minutes later, sharing her relief and optimism that this could assist. Then I waited. My parents' reply took 6 hours to come, just after 9 p.m. My mother had composed it, and I could feel her reluctance in every phrase. She said that while this felt overkill for a relative spat, they would join if it meant fixing things. The fact that she still called it a spat instead of owning what they did, told me exactly how much work this would take. I forwarded all responses to Nathan, and asked him to reach Shirley to set the appointments. he replied the next morning, saying Shirley wanted to see me alone first before the relatives meeting. We scheduled it for 2 days later in her city center office. I arrived 10 minutes late for my individual session with Shirley, thanks to traffic. Her space was in a sleek building with transparent walls and simple decor that radiated both expertise and ease. Shirley was likely in her 50s, with cropped silver hair and sharp eyes that could pierce any facade. She gripped my hand solidly and pointed to the seat opposite her desk. She started by explaining her process and asking what I hoped to gain from mediation. I gave her the standard answer about wanting my parents to see me as a grown-up and value my career path. She nodded and jotted a note before looking up with those intense eyes and asking if I truly wanted a bond with my parents, or if I was just seeking validation. The query landed harder than I expected. I sat there for a moment, mulling it over, before telling her truthfully that I wasn't sure. I said that I wanted them to view me as competent and accomplished, while admitting that they had hurt me, but I wasn't certain if they could manage such a change. I described 7 years of being ignored and treated as if I couldn't handle basic grown-up situations. She posed detailed questions about my enterprise, the prom mishap that they kept referencing, and my bond with Olivia. By the end of the hour, I felt she had captured the full scope of the issue. She said she'd meet with my parents next, then Olivia and Liam, before we all convened for the initial group session. The first mediation meeting was scheduled 4 days after I scrapped the suppliers, leaving just 12 days until the event date. I arrived at Shirley's office 15 minutes early and waited in my car, trying to steady myself. Olivia and Liam pulled up a few minutes later, and we entered together. My parents were already there, seated in the lobby with crossed arms and identical expressions of unease. Shirley led us into a larger meeting room with a round table compelling us to look at each other. My folks took one side. I sat right across from them, while Olivia and Liam positioned slightly aside. Shirley took the head spot and kicked off by setting rules for polite exchange and speaking in turns without cutting in. She stressed that we were here to address concrete behaviors and their impacts, not to attack personalities. My father barely waited for her to wrap up before jumping in. He said that the whole matter had been exaggerated, and that they had made a logical seating choice that I took too personally. Shirley lifted her hand and stopped him mid-phrase. She told him to stick to the facts instead of his views on my actions. When she asked him to detail exactly what they decided and why, he shifted in his chair and glanced at my mother. Then he conceded they skipped inviting me because they feared I'd feel out of place among Olivia's professional contacts, which would look bad for the relatives. The statement hung in the space between us. I felt my torso tense, but I forced myself to stay composed and ask him straight what he meant by look bad. He stumbled through a rationale about upscale events, social norms, and knowing how to converse. My mother jumped in to back him, saying they were trying to protect me from an awkward situation like the prom incident years ago. Shirley asked about the prom event, and I had to describe that at 17, I accidentally stepped on my date's friend's gown and ripped it. My parents had supposedly wielded that against me for almost a decade as evidence that I couldn't manage upscale social settings. Olivia's tone broke through the strain, unsteady but firm. She said she had no idea they were still fixated on prom, and that using a teen error to justify not inviting me to her event was absurd. Liam immediately supported her, noting that his relatives had never voiced any concerns about my presence, and that my parents seemed to be imposing their own worries onto the matter. Shirley moved the topic to the $55,000 deposit, and I saw my mother's face go white. She tried to justify that they saw it as relatives' funds adding to a relative's occasion, and that they had already assigned those sums to the space upgrades and menu enhancements. I kept my tone steady as I clarified that it was my funds from my enterprise, offered as a unique gift for filming, and they had no authority to redirect it without my okay. My father got defensive, saying that if I was really thriving, I wouldn't care about $55,000. Shirley asked him how he'd feel if $55,000 was taken from him without consent, no matter his wealth. He had no solid response for it. The quiet lingered awkwardly, yet it felt necessary. We used the next hour going over each specific point of pain and confusion. Shirley kept us focused on tangible actions, rather than personal attacks. My parents started to concede some of their errors, but they kept justifying everything with their motives. Shirley pointed out that impact matters more than intent, and that their behaviors hurt me no matter what they meant to do. By the session's close, we hadn't locked in anything firm, but Shirley had gotten my parents to agree to another meeting and to genuinely think about.
Like, subscribe, and smash that bell before it smashes you. Stay with Reddit Tales Times for chilling twists, haunting tales, and daily doses of the disturbing. You've been warned.
My perspective? She gave them assignments to write exactly what they did that was wrong, and what they could have done instead. She also gave me assignments, which involved noting what a realistic path forward looked like, and what I was willing to bend on. We all exited her office without a word, and I waited in my car for 10 minutes before turning the key. I drove home on autopilot, my grip on the wheel tighter than needed. Back in my editing suite, I tackled the assignment Shirley had given me and stared at the empty page for nearly 20 minutes. The prompt was simple, but I kept circling it. What did I really want from all this? I started writing, and the phrases came quicker than expected. I wanted them to see me as someone who counted, not as the clumsy prom teen who couldn't handle upscale dinners. The event itself felt almost secondary now. It was about whether my parents could acknowledge me as a grown-up with a valid career in existence. I listed my terms in bullet points. A genuine apology that owned what they did wrong. A repayment schedule for $55,000 that includes specific amounts and timelines. A commitment to treat me with basic respect. Any dad booted me from my sister's guest list, then lost it when I casually mentioned I owned every vendor on the roster. I was parked in my home edit bay when the call came through from my parents. There simply aren't enough seats to accommodate everyone at the ceremony. Cuts were necessary, and you were one of them. You follow, don't you? I drew a long breath, but I'd already drafted a toast, and my flight set me back $750. It's non-refundable, Lucas. Dad's voice sliced clean like a razor. This is a formal event. Attendees use several pieces of silverware. Your sister's executive crowd will be there, and we know crowds unsettle you. Dad, I'm 29. Be sure to eat something before you ring us again. You turn irritable when you're famished. Beep. He hung up. A cold knot formed in my gut. I'd left film school 7 years earlier, and they still refused to treat me like I counted. An hour later, the phone rang again. It was their planner. Mr. Lucas, Hannah from Wedding Glow calling. This concerns your sister's celebration next month. Your family requested some changes. My stomach lurched. What changes? They've erased you from the guest list entirely, yet they've also instructed us to retain your $55,000 payment for the cinematography package. Your mother explained the family had already earmarked those funds for other celebration expenses. I'd insisted on covering cinematography myself so I could give my sister something meaningful. My hand shook now, but not from grief. Hannah, quick question. Name of the venue? Horizon Hall, downtown. Why? And who owns it? Papers rustled. Listed under Vision Media Group. My voice stayed level. Catering company? Silver Plate Catering, but I'm not sure why. She stopped. Wait, that's Vision Media Group too. Go on, florist, DJ, transport. Her breathing accelerated as I rattled them off. Mr. Lucas, Are you claiming you control every vendor for this event? Every single one? The sentence felt foreign on my tongue. 7 years of convincing everyone I was barely getting by while quietly assembling $1 million at Empire. 7 years later, you snag a legitimate gig, and we recall prom night like I'm still the gawky teen who shredded Sarah's friend's dress. Cancel everything, I said quietly, every deal and every reservation. Send my parents an itemized statement showing exactly what their actual budget must cover. They can keep my cinematography deposit. They've already spent it. But sir, the ceremony is 4 weeks away. 150 guests. Then they'd better start dialing. After I ended the call, I sat in my edit bay, surrounded by gear they dismissed as an overpriced hobby. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Lucas, our decision stands. Still, the invitation listed a dress code. We know how tough those are for you. When you land a real job, you'll understand these calls. Don't contact your sister, I typed. Understood. Good luck with the vendors. I was transferring footage from a drive when my phone erupted with calls. I ignored Mom, Dad, and my sister's numbers. I let them ring until Dad tried for the 6th time. Lucas. His arrogance had vanished. He sounded panicked, almost yelling. Every vendor just pulled out. The hall, the caterers, everyone. There's been a terrible mistake. No mistake, Dad. They all report to me. The silence was absolute. I heard his breathing. That's impossible. You shoot little clips you can hardly afford. I shoot ads for Nike, Dad. Every vendor you hired works for me. We can fix this. You're still family. Family? I laughed. An hour ago, you feared I couldn't handle multiple forks. Lucas. Don't be so sensitive. You know? We only want the best. No, Dad. You want a celebration you can't fund. The phone rang again. This time it was my sister. I almost let it go, but something made me answer. Lucas. Her voice was tiny, fractured. She cried so hard she couldn't form words. What's happening? Mom and Dad are screaming. The venue called me directly. They said everything's canceled. My anger softened slightly. Did you know they cut me? What? No. Mom said you had a major shoot that weekend and couldn't come. Her sobs grew louder. I closed my eyes and felt the weight of my choice. They also kept my $55,000 deposit. Said they'd already spent it. $55,000. Lucas. Oh God. I didn't know. None of this was on my radar. She hiccuped now. The same sound Mom made when we were kids. Can you fix it? The vendors? My voice cracked. I'm sorry, but they have to learn. They can't keep treating me like this. 7 years of being viewed as a child who couldn't manage silverware. But this is my ceremony, she whispered. I had to decide between schooling my parents and preserving my sister's biggest day. I stared at my phone, Olivia's sobs looping endlessly in my head. My thumb hovered over Isabella's contact. Whatever I did next would reshape family ties forever. My chest still burned with hot rage, but now it mingled with my little sister's wails over a mess she hadn't made. I tapped call before I could overthink. Isabella answered instantly, braced for more chaos. I told her to delay cancellation notices 24 hours so I could freeze everything while I decided. She sounded relieved, promised to pause vendor talks, but warned some had already inquired. I assured her a final decision by morning and hung up, feeling a boulder on my ribs. I paced my edit bay for the next hour, weaving between equipment racks and workstations. My phone pinged relentlessly on the desk, signaling incoming calls. I kept eyeing Dad's name. 7 more attempts in 40 minutes. I set every one to voicemail. I needed clarity without his panic or manipulation. The bay felt altered today, all the lenses, lights, and tools my parents labeled expensive toys. This gear had paid for itself 100-fold. They'd built a company they never knew existed. And here I was, leveraging it in a family war I never wanted. Around midnight, I finally played Dad's voicemails. I sat at my desk, phone on speaker, and listened in order. First, furious, voice tight, calling me childish. Second, confused, demanding explanation. By the fourth, anxious, frantic about money spent and replacement difficulty. Eighth, let's talk like adults, family fixes things. The irony stung, coming from the man who treated me like a kid that morning and hung up when I defended my travel plans. Worst, no apology, no ownership, just the mess I created, never what they'd sparked. I deleted them all and called Lucas, despite the hour. He picked up on the second ring, used to my odd deadlines. I spilled the entire saga, exclusion, deposit, threatening to torch my sister's day. He listened silently, then warned that rumors of Vision Media Group yanking contracts for personal reasons could tank our reputation. He was right. We'd built reliability over years. We scheduled an early office meeting to protect my boundaries and the brand. I crashed around 3:30 a.m., woke at 7:30 to nonstop pings. 17 new texts, mostly Mom. I scrolled in bed, watching her tactics evolve. Early, hostile, selfish, dramatic. Middle, guilt, ruining Olivia's joy, spoiling her best day. Late, not who we raised, family doesn't act this way, cruel over hurt feelings. The irony nearly made me laugh. They hadn't raised me for success either, yet here I ran $1 million firm they ignored. Lucas, Nathan, and I met in the conference room that morning. Nathan spread vendor contracts across the table, reviewed each. Legally, I could terminate, Vision owned them. But penalty clauses meant up to $18,000 in fees plus the $55,000 already spent. He cautioned against family drama bleeding into business. If I reinstated, we needed ironclad documentation separating this from standard ops. We drafted a policy on family conflicts to prevent repeats. My phone rang mid-meeting, Liam. I genuinely liked Olivia's fiancé. He never bought my parents. Joke career, narrative. I stepped out. He suggested coffee. Just us, 3:30 near my bay. His voice calm, practical. Liam arrived on the dot, exhausted but steady. We took a quiet corner. I outlined Nathan's mediation idea. He agreed Olivia needed structure too, promised to discuss that night. Back at the bay, I opened my laptop to draft the mediation email. Fingers hovered a full minute before typing. Kept it concise. Nathan recommended Shirley, professional mediator, for productive dialogue on events and next steps. I wanted a path benefiting all, requiring open talk and mutual respect. CC'd Olivia, parents, Lucas, Nathan. Thumb trembled slightly, hitting send. Liam replied under 5 minutes. He and Olivia were in, thanked me. Olivia separate, relief, hope. Parents took 6 hours, post 9 p.m. Mom wrote, reluctant tone clear. This felt excessive for family disagreement, but they'd attend to. Resolve. Still calling it a disagreement, not owning actions. Signaled the work ahead. I forwarded to Nathan. He'd contact Shirley. Next morning, Shirley wanted solo session first, 2 days later downtown. I arrived 10 minutes late, traffic. Modern building, glass walls, minimalist comfort. Shirley 50s, cropped silver hair, eyes that saw through pretense. Firm handshake, gesture to chair. Outline process, asked my goals. Standard, want parents to see me as adult, value career. She nodded, noted then. Do you want relationship or vindication? Hit hard. I admitted uncertainty. Wanted recognition as capable, hurt acknowledged, unsure they could change. Detailed 7 years dismissed, prom weaponized, bond with Olivia. By hour's end, she grasped scale. She'd see parents next, then Olivia/Liam, then group. First group session 4 days post cancellations. 12 days to wedding. I arrived 15 early, waited in car calming. Olivia/Liam pulled up, we entered together. Parents already in lobby, arms crossed, matching unease. Shirley ushered to larger room, round table, forcing eye contact. Parents one side, me opposite, Olivia/Liam offset. Shirley at head, ground rules, civil, turns, no interruptions. Focus, actions, impacts, not character. Dad jumped in early, blown out of proportion, sensible seating I overreacted to. Shirley halted mid-sentence, facts, not perceptions. Asked specifics, why no invite? Dad shifted, glanced Mom, admitted fear I'd be uncomfortable among Olivia's execs, reflecting poorly on family. Words hung. Chest tightened, stayed calm, asked meaning of. Poorly. Stumbled, formal events, etiquette, conversation. Mom backed, protecting from prom-like awkwardness. Shirley probed prom. Age 17, accidental step, toward date's friend's dress. Weaponized decade as proof I couldn't handle formals. Olivia broke tension, voice shaky but strong, unaware prom obsession, absurd justification for wedding exclusion. Liam supported, his family never concerned, parents projecting anxieties. Shirley shifted to deposit. Mom paled. Explained, family funds for family event, allocated to venue upgrades, menu extras. Eyes steady, my business money, specific gift for cinematography, no right to redirect sans permission. Dad defensive, if truly successful, wouldn't miss $55,000. Shirley, how would you feel if $55,000 taken without consent, regardless wealth? No answer. Silence necessary. Next hour, every hurt, misunderstanding. Shirley, actions, not attacks. Parents admitted some errors, still justified intent. She, impact intent, hurt regardless motive. End. No resolutions, but second session committed, my perspective considered. Homework. Parents. What harmful, alternatives, me, realistic future, compromises. Exited silent. I waited 10 in car before driving. Home autopilot, grip tight. In bay, tackled homework, stared blank page 20 minutes. Simple prompt, circled endlessly. What did I want? Wrote faster than expected, seen as maturing, not prom klutz. Wedding secondary. About adult recognition, valid career. Bullet conditions. Genuine apology owning wrongs. $55,000 repayment plan. Specifics, dates. Commitment basic respect future. No profession/formal jabs. Stared list. Chest settled. Not unreasonable. Adult boundaries earned. Next day reviewed thrice. Clarity key. No vague promises, tangible acts. Second session. Printed homework, highlighted. Office different vibe. Parents on time, oddly prepared folders. Same seats, same tension, subtle shift. Shirley, parents share writings. Mom first, multiple handwritten pages, surprising effort. Stated uninvited bluntly, no softening. Deposit without permission, wrong regardless intent. Critical profession remarks, Olivia's exec comparisons, endless prom callbacks like I'm 17. Voice trembled, hand shook. Dad next, shorter, phone typed, sloppy. Admitted should have consulted pre-wedding finalization. Assumed business struggle sans questions. Defensive. Hindsight. Perhaps, but something. Shirley let silence linger, then, alternatives per case. Mom steadier. Should have voiced worries openly versus fabricated shoots/seating. Admitted fear judgment by Olivia's circle, projected onto me. Ideal family vision. I didn't fit post-film school dropout. Dad long pause. Should have asked about business versus presumed struggle. Hesitant, always saw prom teen, not adult evolved, never updated mental image. Shirley nodded, noted, asked why image shift hard. Mom stunned, accustomed to shame about me. Habits tough to break, even knowing wrong. I read mine, calmer than felt. Need career seen real, end undermining. Listed clients, Nike primetime spots, Apple launches millions saw, six-figure agency deals. Shock on faces. They truly hadn't known. Explained $55,000. Not just money. Gift showing Olivia mattered, day memorable. Taken wordlessly equals erased from family. Input worthless. Voice cracked end, pushed on. 7 years built real thing, treated as toy play. Let belief I suffered to avoid judgment. My mistake, should have sought recognition versus hide. Olivia sobbed before I finished. Shoulders heaving, not quiet tears. Liam tissues. Words broken anyway. Apologized not defending earlier. Focus peace, managing parents, missed cumulative harm. Heard profession jabs years, dismissed parental norm. Liam arm around, direct to parents. Want right, willing downsize wedding if includes/values me. His parents worried scale/cost start. Prefer small intimate. Olivia nodded. Never wanted huge, parents vision. Parents looked slapped. Mom pale, dad uneasy shift. Shirley timed. Appearances core. Big wedding impress. Uninvite avoid embarrassment. Deposit sustain image. Asked outright. Relationship with me impressing execs? Mom instant yes strong. Dad stared me, Olivia, Shirley. Stiff jaw finally yes. Shirley noted, practicals. Wedding aspects modifiable for family appearance? Awkward silence, wordless parental glances. Rest session, concrete answers. Nathan phoned in, speak. Speaker calm. Guided repayment options, structures, timelines. Settled $55,000 over 2 years. Formal promissory note, 30 monthly $1,800. Separated gift/control. Can't claim family money with legal repayment obligation. Contract real consequences default. Mom unhappy, consented. Dad probed interest, schedules. Nathan shut down. Not negotiation, restitution unauthorized taking. Outline family promissory default consequences. Dad signed off. Wedding, full guest, no restrictions/specials. No forced speech, neither wanted. Treated any family. Olivia, head table near her/Constantine. Parents little argument, progress. Mom, sit between her/Olivia, together. Gesture appreciated, new partly image, but now included me. Vendor crisis bigger. Lucas laptop, intense ops face. Resetting 7 days tough. Some booked alternates post cancel. Florist corporate, DJ Sweet 16, backup fought wedding. Need substitutes 3-4, limo dependent. Could salvage 70%, concessions required. Spreadsheet color-coded availability/priority. Parents worried. Olivia stunned all, interrupted Lucas. Use chance for desired wedding. Voice firmer. She/Constantine decided. Cut guests 15080. Close circle versus execs/distant. Move ballroom site garden venue. Easier vendors, less services, lower costs. Constantine backed. Eases his parents, preferred intimate. Shirley to parents. Accept Olivia's choice versus expectations? Long hush. Mom folded hands, glanced dad. Yes, quiet, clear. Dad longer, face sour, nodded. Olivia exhaled, Constantine squeezed hand. Shirley noted, coordinate Lucas changes. Closed, Progress, acknowledge. Lucas updated every few hours next 4 days. Phone glued. Team restructured. Controlled chaos, visible assembly. Garden available. Manageable versus ballroom. Xavier reclaimed florist. Minor corporate flexible. DJ honored original post explanation. Future discount. Vada committed elsewhere. Xavier found higher rated replacement. Caterer total loss. Anniversary gala. Xavier sourced Olivia loved. Substitute. Unique fusion apps / drinks original never offered. Met Isabella thrice. Rebuilt cinematography. Original plans. But I'd shoot personally versus team. Surprised. Warren family tricky. Exactly why. Event evolved beyond job. Olivia 1 session. Full day shot lists. First look Liam mom veil. Dinner toasts. Kept saying couldn't believe I'd do this. Reminded original intent pre-mess. Parents mailed revised invites. Smaller list. Garden venue. Same date. I received mine. Simple cream card. My name bold. Head table noted. Day before. Final vendor confirmations locked. I walked Horizon Garden at dusk. String lights. Intimate tables. Flowers vibrant. Felt right. Olivia's vision, not spectacle. Wedding morning. Crisp sunny. I arrived early. Camera bag. Greeted Isabella coordinating crew. Olivia in suite. Gown simple elegant. Hugged tight. Eyes wet. Thank you. Told her always planned this. Ceremony under arbor. 80 chairs. Closest faces. I filmed discreetly. Captured vows, tears, laughter. Reception. Garden lit. Fusion bites. DJ perfect. I joined head table. Mom left. Olivia right. Dad raised glass. To family learning love. Clinked. Eyes mine. Real apology unspoken but there. Later. Olivia / Constantine first dance. I filmed. Then set camera. Joined dance floor. Mom approached. Hesitant. Proud. Sorry. Hugged. First real years. Night ended fireworks over garden. My quiet add-on surprise. Guests gasped. Olivia ran. Hug fierce. Perfect. Driving home. City lights blurred. Phone buzzed. Olivia. Best day. Love you. Smiled. Chest light. 7 years hiding success. One wedding rewrote everything. Family saw me. Adult. Capable. Essential. Prom kid gone. Filmmaker, brother, son remained.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a twist. Stay tuned to Reddit Tales Times for your daily dose of drama, laughs, and unbelievable stories.